Good evening, everybody. I think I wanted to raise one of the two things. The first one is that the struggle towards changing a country, it takes some time, and maybe the events that have happened in Kenya so far become demoralizing because you don't look at them in a historical context. In the 60 years since our independence, this country and this republic has come very far. It has come from being a colony of the British Empire to getting independence, fighting through that period when there was a major political battle between Kenyatta and the late Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, leading to the little general election of 1966-67, when KPU was removed from power and KANU merged with KADU, and Moi came in to replace Jaramogi. Since then, there was the clamor to remove Section 2A of the Constitution, making Kenya a multi-party state, introducing multi-party democracy that led to the rainbow election of the Rainbow Coalition of Mwai Kibaki, which brought in the second liberation through the 2010 Constitution. The 2010 Constitution itself, I was listening to Anthony and mgeni wetu hapo Kagame akiongea, and there's a problem as well about organizing rooted on the 2010 Constitution, because the political class were protecting themselves in various articles. I mean, first of all, to become a president of Kenya, you must garner 51% of the vote. And I know he was a presidential candidate. That already had knocked out the good gentleman. The second thing is you'd have to get half the counties, and that is 24 out of the 47 counties. So the political class have embedded in law and within the constitution itself barriers that are physical and also financial, so that even if Kenyans get together, it becomes a mission impossible to be able to displace the political class without making a deal with part of them. And that is why the first action of any politician is to become a tribal chief, in order that you get certain numbers that bring you nearer 51%. And then you get another tribal chief to become another tribal chief, so that you can then get to the counties in order to even have a coalition that can compete for power. In fact, the current problem that the Gen Z revolution found with ODM grabbing their supper is because William Ruto is rearranging his coalition along tribal lines for these reasons. He needs the tribal chief called Raila Odinga to reorganize the 50+1 and to reorganize the counties, so that if Mount Kenya leave William Ruto, as probably is the case now, that he can be able to reorganize a Western Alliance that can fill up the same numbers in the same counties. Now, the reason I think Anthony, who spoke at the top of the hour, is I find this Anthony guy a young man with a lot of passion. And I want to encourage him, because he says there are 4,000 organizing, 4,000 already on Telegraph, and many more. Why I'm saying that is that route of trying to organize the Gen Z in some kind of movement is the only way in which the Gen Z movement can be felt. Because unless the Gen Z is together, unless they are united in a mass movement or mass group, they cannot effectively challenge political power legally. The legal constraints and restrictions require formations that can be able to raise the numbers I've said. I want to come to why this question of the finance bill is interrelated and interdependent to the movement and democratic development of the country. You see, the country's economic situation is worsened because of the counties becoming so many. We have 47 counties instead, say, of 8. And the reason we have 47 counties is to manage those groups. I'm telling you that, everybody wants their county so they can control their local community, which adds up now towards the coalitions that politicians need to win elections. Now, this becomes a major expenditure in the public purse, together with the public service, mirrored in the same way that if you employ people in the public service, you employ your own people in order that you get the down ballot of those people then telling their villagers to vote for you because you give them national jobs. So this whole tribal conundrum that we have is becoming a cancer towards our democracy, because in satisfying this appetite of tribal greed and tribal insatiable greed, we have to raid the purse of the nation to the extent that it becomes unreasonable and unmanageable. And then therefore, one of the things that excited me about coming together around the Reject Finance 2024 was the JZ people were not tribal, they were leaderless, they were a group of people who were tied together with an objective and an ideal. If that can remain the case and we can break down the barriers of ethnic and regional blocks, we can begin actually a journey of talking about a Kenyan nation that can be able to challenge that political class. And until we are able perhaps to cross that barrier that Dr. Mwalimu Nyerere was talking about at the beginning of the Tanzanian nation, we will not be able to effectively challenge the ruling class in Kenya. I would just like to say that at the beginning of this conversation. I never said Kenyatta was good. I never said Kibaki was good. And by the way, when Bidan Bugwa was jailed, I was jailed longer than him for contempt of court, and he is my friend. I wanted to say that the issue I was raising was that we are a young democracy, and that Kenya has gone through difficult times over time, that this revolution of the Gen Z should be looked at in the context of history, that there has been times which have been unwelcome, but we have gone through them as a country. And I said the first one was Kenyatta, and the other one led to the 2010 constitution. Imperfect as they were, there were moments in this country's history. And I'm just saying that the young people are dealing with a current problem, enormous it is, but they will overcome and they will triumph over it. But there are barriers that exist that they should be aware of. So as they are able to organize and fight, they need to realize that it's okay to be theoretical and say, we just want Ruto to go and we want the following. But I'm saying unless they are organized in a certain way, the political architecture in Kenya has been rigged so that it makes it difficult for people to achieve that goal. Just like it's difficult for women to get elected. Just like it's difficult for minorities to win the presidency, simply because of the 50+1 rule. And therefore, to become a serious presidential candidate, you would need to get certain things in ducks in a row in order to be able to fight. I'm raising that issue because we need to give hope to this generation that is younger than us. And some of these forums are also educational. I was listening earlier in your spaces when you were talking about civic education and the need to let the younger people, learn from us and learn from history, some of the things that they have to overcome. None of them are not impossible to overcome, but they need to know that those barriers exist. So I'm just encouraging the young people to organize, to group, but also to understand that when they are united, when they are bigger, when they are a movement, when they are an organization, they can be able to overtake or overrun the barriers that have been elected by the political class. And then coming to the issue of the Finance Bill 2024 and the way in which it had been defeated and the way it has come back. It has come back because Ruto has reorganized himself politically, and he feels now able to withstand any more demonstrations. He's feeling more emboldened because of Odinga's adventures to him. And that is what must be considered as we now talk about rejecting these bills again. One must wonder if Ruto was this vicious when the opposition was the way it was before, how much more vicious will he be now that there is little political, resistance? And then how would it be best to handle those demonstrations and try and avoid the government coming hard on the people? I'm just raising those concerns for discussion. I am not promoting Kibaki nor Kenyatta as heroes of this nation. I'm saying that they lived through their moments, and Kenyans overcame both Kenyatta and Kibaki as they must now overcome Zakayo.